Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're stepping back in time, specifically to 1978,
Right.
and we're going to analyze an address that really wasn't just a sermon or a political speech. It was, well, a complete ideological blueprint for world transformation.
Really was.
The mission statement for that year and the whole core of our dive today was this pretty uncompromising slogan: the basic formula for the realization of the kingdom of God on earth.
And that phrase, basic formula, it tells you everything you need to know about the source material.
Yeah,
This isn't abstract theology.
no.
It's systematic architecture. I mean, if you're going to build a kingdom, you need three things. You need sovereignty, you need a people, and you need territory.
Okay.
And this address, it explicitly defines all three. It details that God must be the sovereign, all humanity, the people, and the entire earth. That's the territory.
And the immediate question the speaker raises is so direct. It's like, if God is supposedly the sovereign, why doesn't the world reflect that? The address states it plainly. God is not the master of this world yet. In fact, it points a finger directly at organized religion, observing that even within Christianity, you have sectarianism, constant fighting over private interests.
Precisamente. That internal division. That sectarianism where every group is just fighting for its own corner. It means God can't establish a true centralized reign. Not under the current circumstances.
So no existing group works.
No single existing group, according to this address, is totally centered on the divine will. So the goal has to be, radically narrowed. God has to search for the smallest possible starting point.
Just one dot.
1.1 unit is the phrase used, a place where he can securely begin the kingdom.
So this deep dive is really about understanding how that one unit gets established. Okay, so let's unpack this. If God needs a base of operations, what is the fundamental, the most basic formula required for God to dwell here on earth, starting with just that single individual?
Well, the source material gives a formula that, on the surface, sounds simple, but it requires a radical precondition. It says, wherever an individual, a family, or a nation truly loves God, that is the place God can reside. Love is the dwelling place. But, and this is the massive catch,
There's always a catch.
to genuinely qualify to love God in this way, one must be born of God as an extension of his own lineage. It's about a direct, perfected connection.
Yeah.
It's not about historical belief or just being a member of some denomination.
That concept of lineage is so fundamental because it completely redefines the purpose of our existence. We grew up believing we exist for our own happiness, our own fulfillment.
Right.
But the address flips that entirely. It argues we were born specifically to love God as the fulfillment of God's own ideal of love.
That's the critical insight. Without that true connection, without perfected people to receive and reflect that love, God can't fulfill his purpose, no matter how almighty he is. And the source links this directly to the structure of the entire cosmos. It says, after years of searching, the answer synthesized was that the trunk line of the universe is the father-son relationship in love.
The father-son relationship.
That relationship, that ultimate expression of give and take, it must exist and be perfected between God and man.
So that relationship is the foundation, and that foundation has to be physically manifested in the individual. But if God needs a permanent dwelling place, the address suggests our current minds and bodies, they're just not fit for the job.
No, they're not.
So why are we, as we exist now, structurally unable to host this divine love permanently?
Because the divine presence requires an unchanging, permanent foundation. The individual has to achieve what the address calls a true conscience and a true body, a state of being with absolutely no increase and decrease in value or intention.
What does that even look like in practical terms? I mean, our minds are constantly shifting, reacting to things, and our bodies are, by definition, always changing, aging, decaying.
That constant change is exactly the problem. The source uses this analogy of gold.
Gold.
Gold retains its value and its purity no matter where it is. You can drop it in the dirt, it's still gold. Your mind has to have that same steadfast, uncorruptible value. A gold mind.
So if your mind is just reacting to every external input, it's not permanent.
Exactly. And the body is even worse. The address uses a very vivid image. It says, if God's love is the stable upper portion of the body, but the mind and body are the two legs, constantly changing direction, shifting intent.
Then what happens?
Then the love of God just has no place to stay. It's a feeble, unreliable foundation.
So the goal of the religious life, as it's defined here, is basically internal conquest, securing the true mind over the constantly changing impulses of the true body.
Absolutely. The method is the conquest of your body by your mind. The mind has to achieve that true conscience, and the body. The body has to become a complete zero, offering no resistance whatsoever to the mind's perfected will.
A complete zero.
It's the only way to resolve that internal civil war we all experience, where the mind knows the right thing to do, but the body just wants comfort or selfish pleasure.
And the test for whether you've achieved this zero resistance state is, well, it's fascinatingly severe. The source gives a specific, really memorable example about a 7-day fast. If you finish that fast, you're completely ravenous, and your first thought is, I can finally eat. You're told you have failed the test.
That's right. The body still ruled. Success, true mastery, comes at that moment of agonizing hunger when you look up and you declare, God, I can do this and more for you.
Wow.
That moment, it confirms the body has achieved zero resistance. The mind is totally centered on service. It proves your internal stability is secure, the foundation for individual heaven.
So once that individual is perfected, how does this formula scale up? I mean, the kingdom of God on earth can't just be a collection of perfected hermits. It has to expand through love into community. So what's the formula for couple heaven?
It's achieved through total give and take between the plus and the minus, leading to permanent unity.
If God dwells where permanent love exists, the relationship itself has to become permanently stable.
And the address brings this right down to earth. Well, it does. It cites the reality of modern American life, specifically the high rate of easy divorce, noting that 2/3 of divorces are initiated by women. It's just profoundly contrary to this ideal. The stability isn't there, so God cannot stay.
And the source emphasizes that the true beginning of the kingdom isn't the individual or even the couple, it's the family. The family is the first real building block. Family heaven.
Yes, and this is where the doctrine of the heavenly four positions comes in. To create a stable, permanent family heaven, you need God as the vertical center, the parents in the perfected Adam and Eve's position, and the children, all united horizontally and vertically in absolute total love.
A miniature ideal world.
It's the first model, replicated in miniature.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the unity between man and woman, the plus and minus, this reflects something far larger, right? A universal law that governs all of creation.
Absolutely. The universe operates on this principle of plus and minus, vertical subject, horizontal object. The source says this is why everything in existence is paired. It even uses the analogy of electricity.
How so?
It says if you create an absolute minus, it automatically draws the plus. Permanent existence requires this dynamic, harmonious give and take.
And this principle is then applied directly to relationship dynamics, defining men as the subject, or the plus, and women as the object, the minus.
Yes, it's described as a necessity for creation. The source, and remember the context, is 1978.
All right.
It describes women as needing a revolution within the home. But a revolution not of receiving rights, but of initiating giving, instead of always waiting for the subject, the husband, to initiate action.
So it's about proactive giving.
Both must actively run together to achieve that absolute happy union. It even notes that in the average American home, the wife usually waits for the husband to initiate kissing, for instance.
And to really underscore how profoundly these differences are tied to universal existence, the source provides one of the most surprising, real-world analogies I've ever come across.
It is certainly unique.
I think you have to introduce this one neutrally since it's a direct quote from the time.
Right. So, to show that gender differences are not arbitrary but reflect this universal law, the source points to the differing body composition of men and women. Men with broad shoulders, wider on top.
And women.
And women with a heavy part lower down. And the rationale given is that this body arrangement is efficient for the New York subway during rush hour.
The subway.
The subway. Why?
Yeah.
Because with one wider on top and the other wider on the bottom, the difference ensures more people can fit in a subway car.
That is certainly a memorable way to hammer home the point.
The point, as strange as the example is that difference is essential for maximum efficiency and permanent existence under this law of plus and minus.
Okay, so moving beyond the family, what does this all mean for society, for the nation? Is the national level simply a larger version of that family heaven?
It is exactly that. It's a necessary expansion. On the national level, the leader has to transcend self-interest and become the representative of God, acting as the father of all the citizens.
Not just the leader of one family or faction.
Exactly. And the ultimate goal shifts from private family prosperity to the collective prosperity and glory of the entire nation.
And this system creates a very defined structure of loyalty. This is visualized using the 3 sections of a finger.
That's right. The first section is the pious son, who shows loyalty to the family by serving parents and grandparents. The second section is the patriot or loyal subject, showing loyalty to the nation by serving the head of state as a metaphorical parent.
And the third and highest level.
That's the saint, demonstrating total vertical loyalty to the universal level, with God as the ultimate center.
So this formula, that perfected father-son relationship in love, it has to apply vertically through all three sectors of society, from the individual all the way up.
In this framework, it raises the inevitable question: how does humanity bridge the gap from the national level to the universal level? This is where the address discusses the absolute necessity of the Messiah.
What is the role of the Messiah in this structure, specifically in fulfilling what the source calls the universal dispensation?
Well, the Messiah's mission is to assume Adam's original perfected position, to be that central integrated person.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning being the perfected individual, the perfected family head, the king of the nation, and ultimately the saint of the universe, all in one.
And to serve him.
To truly serve him. The formula demands that you transcend all self-interest and all national boundaries and work exclusively on that universal level.
That's a massive commitment. The implication here is that you have to be willing to sacrifice or even abandon your closest loyalties, your home, your natural parents, your nation, all to focus on God's ultimate purpose through the Messiah.
It is an extreme demand for total vertical commitment. The teaching states that by serving this one person who acts as the perfected center of the universe, you automatically fulfill the requirements of pious son, patriot, and saint all at once.
So your focus has to transcend race and culture.
Completely. If you belong to this universal movement, then wherever you go, Japan, Germany, any country, it has to feel like your home and your kingdom, because it all belongs to God.
Let's shift now to the urgency of this 1978 address. The context is so vital here. Why the intense focus on America, and why this belief that the formula needed to be implemented immediately?
The address singles out America as the epicenter of a crisis. It argues that America's hyper-individualistic, pleasure-seeking way of life, it's not just damaging the country internally.
It's an export.
It's a corrupting epidemic that is killing the rest of the world through its global influence. And because America is dying herself and spreading that evil abroad, the source declares America is doubly sick in the sight of God and facing double judgment.
That is a devastating critique, and the timeline that goes with it is incredibly dire. The speaker warned that the generation raised after World War II was spreading this spiritual and moral evil, and that the backbone of American patriotism was just disappearing fast.
The sense of urgency is palpable. I mean, the address makes a shocking statement that if the followers do not take decisive action and establish this foundation in the next 10 years, so from 1978, the situation will become hopeless.
Hopeless.
There is no time to rest and no time for private interest.
So the call to action demands this radical total investment, sacrifice. How does the address motivate people to undertake that level of sacrifice, especially the financial and physical demands for this kind of universal work?
It's motivated through the guarantee of universal reimbursement. The comparison used is to God sacrificing Jesus Christ, a total, painful, horizontal investment.
Okay.
And the promise is that if you give everything horizontally, total commitment, total sacrifice, the universe will automatically reimburse you in a vertical way, meaning spiritual progress and lasting value will be secured.
So the mission is dual.
Exactly. Saving America from its internal collapse and at the same time making the real permanent you, that individual foundation we talked about in the beginning.
We've now seen that the basic formula is so much more than a simple spiritual doctrine. It's a comprehensive restructuring of individual purpose, family governance, and national loyalty, all centered on creating a true, unchanging foundation for God's love.
Right. And every single action, even selling a product or sacrificing a small comfort, it has to be done with genuine sincerity and purpose, without any hint of hypocrisy.
And the teaching underscores that the ultimate function of all the sacrificial giving is the step-by-step establishment of the kingdom of God here on earth.
Which requires stepping beyond all self-centered boundaries of race and culture, to the point where wherever you go, you feel the suffering of the world as your own pain, and you act on that responsibility immediately.
And that profound demand for genuine, internally perfected action. It leads us to a really challenging final thought for you, the listener. The source warns that even if you spend years dedicating yourself to this strenuous cause, if you do not truly internalize and fully understand the love of God, as it's defined here, as the absolute core principle of lineage and permanent relationship, you are destined to hell instead of heaven. So what does it mean to you to pursue knowledge or power or service without truly understanding the ultimate underlying principle behind it all? What is the ultimate criterion or foundation in your own life? We'll leave you to explore that question on your own.